Amazin But True, Jake Brown, Nelson Figueroa with our special guest because he played for that Cleveland baseball team that we spanked over the weekend. And by spanked, I mean 1 run, 3 1 run wins, very close games.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah,
It's all
same
or
thing.
nothing. Yeah, a
A
mile
W
or
is a W is a W, Figgy. That's all. You just got to win. But, 1 run's all it takes. He played for the Pirates, Giants, A's, Blue Jays, Tigers, that Cleveland team, which was the Indians at the time, Red Sox, and ended his career with the Mets. He played from 2006 through 2019 in the big leagues, a one-time AL stolen base leader, and now working for Major League Baseball as the senior director of on-field operations and also doing great work in your community in Connecticut. It's a mentoring program with your local high school there in New London County. Let's welcome to the program, Rajai Davis. Rajai, welcome to the show. How you doing?
What an introduction. That was nice. Sweet.
Yeah, I'll bring a megaphone with you when you're at like Sizzler and you need me to introduce who you are, whatever it is. We appreciate you coming on. What were you doing? You were in Stockton over the weekend, right? And for the single A A's team, right? What was going on there?
I was just doing a little player appearance, taking some pictures. Obviously, a lot of Oakland fans in the area. I played with Oakland for the most long stint of my career, 4 years in Oakland I spent.
Did you happen to watch what happened with the Mets and Guardians over the weekend? You catch any of that action?
Very, very little. I was really catching the highlights of what was going on, but that was it's been it looks like the Mets have been playing some pretty good ball lately.
Yeah, about time. We've been waiting for this. I think one of the things is that the team was too good. There were too many good players who were underperforming, and just they hit a rut. And everybody sat back and said they needed something. And that something was give somebody else a chance. And they brought up the baby Mets, or one of the baby Mets. The last remaining one is still there, Mauricio. But you brought up Vientos, and the way that Hollywood is drawn up, and it was almost like a movie. Nothing happening, and then bam, he hits a 2-run home run to tie the game, and all of a sudden it starts to click into gear. And since that moment, it's been a totally different vibe in New York.
Sometimes you get that when you get young guys who are hungry. They haven't had a taste of that extra check, extra long check, and they're hungry. I can attest for myself. You get older, sometimes you get a little content, and you don't do what you've done to get to that point. You stop doing it. That's why I really tip my hat to those like the LeBron Jameses and the Michael Jordans who keep the fire going. They always find something to kind of spark them to continue to push that pedal down.
Yeah, it's crazy because the fact that you said that, it really rings true, because there's a lot of people who you think about the long season, the marathon. I don't care. It's an 0 for 4. It's an 0 for, you're now in a little bit of a mini slump. No, I'll be fine. It's not that you're not working hard. It's not that you don't care, but the law of averages. It'll come back, right? You take those hard line drive outs and you're like, don't worry, those will drop. And so you kind of just sit back on that. And then when you realize that maybe, everybody is doing that at the same time, and you look around, we're not winning ball games. It's just that whole mood, right, becomes down. And so you need that somebody coming in there and being just excited to be there. And you see that energy and that look in their eye. And that look in that eye because you've been there since you were a kid, right? All you want to do is be a major league player. And now all of a sudden you see a kid get up there to the major leagues and he has that look. And it's like, you know what? That's what it's about.
About having fun, getting out there and enjoying this game while you go out there and dominate.
I like that. The baby Mets were hungry for that check. I know when I got my first big pay raise and bump, I went from eating the McDonald's dollar menu to getting juicy steaks. So life changes.
When the money you went from the dollar menu to the $2 menu.
Cut to the extra to the value meal menu.
I always tell him, he got 6 nuggets and threw 3 out the window just because he could.
Yeah. I hate when you get a 4-piece, they only give you 3. Anyways,
there he goes.
Rajai Davis with us. Follow him on Twitter at Rajai11Davis. take us back to coming to the Mets. You had such a short stint with the Mets, but you did grow up, right? A Mets fan in Connecticut. So one, that must have been cool. Two, take us through the story. It was like a 2-hour Uber from Pennsylvania to New York. You meet the manager in the 5th inning. You hit a pinch hit homer in the 8th. I mean, it captured, all the media because it's a surreal story that doesn't happen. Can you take us through that day and also how special it was kind of playing for the team that you grew up rooting for?
So my first game I ever went to in the major leagues was the Mets. And I saw Darryl Strawberry hit a home run. And then I saw Darryl Boston hit back-to-back home runs with Darryl Strawberry. Darryl Strawberry wore number 18. In spring training that year, in 2019, I had number 11. So I was expecting to come up there and get number 11. And so, when I'm in the batting cages at 5:00, manager comes in. It's 5:00 Eastern time. Mets are home. He says, "Hey, you're going to the big leagues." Now we're in Lehigh Valley. It's about 3 hours away. Okay, I still got to shower. I still got to go back to the hotel, pick up all my stuff, and make that trip back to New York City Field. And next thing you know, I'm arriving in the 3rd inning of the Mets against the Nationals that game. I proceed to get dressed, don't address the manager, and then I remembered about the 5th inning. Oh, I better say something to him, let him know that I'm here. So I run out there, and I was with Mickey when we went to the 2016 World Series. He was our pitching coach with Cleveland at the time. And so I just, let him know I was there, and went back to the cage, get ready for perhaps a pinch hit that would come to pass in the, bottom of the 8th against Doolittle. Except about the bottom of the 8th.
How much was that Uber? Do you know, from Lehigh Valley to Queens? What was it, like $300? Do you remember?
It was about that. It's between $200 and $300 to get a Uber from there.
Do you got to expense that? Do you get like the corporate card? How does that work? Because you just got to the team.
It took a while to get it back to me, but eventually I got it back.
And then your first at bat, I mean, did you have goosebumps after that moment? I mean, it wasn't a walk-off. It was, some insurance runs. It was 3-1, made it 6-1. But what was the aftermath of that moment that night? The calls, the texts, what happened?
I mean, it was bananas because, I mean, this is my first at bat. This is my first look. When you're comfortable in the stadium, is different. When you're first getting there, you're getting there in 3rd inning. I didn't have a chance to, pick up the background in batting practice. That's where a lot of times you can see the background and see how big it is. It's been a while for me since playing there as a visiting ball club coming in, but it's just to go up there and produce right away. That's always what you want to do, because one day you're watching the highlights of the MLB players. The next day you're in the highlights of that, and you get all those calls from all the guys that were in Syracuse. They're like, "Hey, Raj." But that was amazing. That was awesome.
Yeah, I remember my first time with the Mets. I get done with the game and everything, and I do a little interview. I have the headphones on, and I'm talking, and I'm answering questions. I go back to the hotel room, and it's about 1:00 in the morning, and Sports Center is rolling, and they're like, "Next up, we'll be talking with the Mets' Nelson Figueroa." And I'm like, "What? How?" I'm looking at the phone. I'm like, "How do they know where I'm at? Are they going to call me? I'm looking to try and get a hold of Jay." I'm like, "What is going on right now?" And I didn't realize that they literally, they take your questions, and then the host will then ad lib over it, and it looks like you guys are having a conversation, even though you never speak to them. But I remember that vividly because I was like you said, you go from watching the highlights, so all of a sudden that's me on the highlights. That's a very, very weird feeling, and to be in a Met uniform, for the first time, and that's something that you dreamt of, your whole life, playing in the backyard. This is what it's going to be like someday, and to make that come true, man, that's got to be the best feeling ever.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Who do you affiliate yourself most with, Rajai? Like you said, you talked about the A's, but like everyone knows you for that World Series homer in Game 7 off Chapman to tie the game. That was I would say the big moment. Game 7 World Series homer is big. Obviously, the Cubs end up winning, but do you affiliate yourself with Cleveland? New York, Oakland? Do you have an affiliation?
It depends where the fans are at, where we at. Because I've had a bunch of moments with each team, with Oakland, even Oakland, had a 50 stolen base season with them. That was the most of my career. Also had a walk-off walk-off home run to get Bob Melvin his 1,000th career run?
1,000 probably, yeah.
Yeah, 1,000th career win. And then when you go over to Toronto, when I was in Toronto, I had that catch, off the wall where I had to jump over the wall
and
get back. That's a 10-foot wall that you bring back. And then with Detroit, I remember the walk-off grand slam that a lot of the fans remember against the former A's, right? Against my former team, against Doolittle. So it was
Doolittle.
He didn't know. All he had to do was throw me fastballs. He had to shut me down. But and then obviously with Cleveland was the big World Series moment that everyone remembers where they were that was watching that game, where they were, what was happening. And I get those stories a lot from A to Z. I'm talking from the Hall of Fame players to just the average fan.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what did that feel like as soon as you made that connection? The old cliches, you don't even feel it come off the bat. What was that moment like as soon as you let that swing off and you realize I got him?
You know what? It was almost it was unbelievable the fact that I was in that situation. Unbelievable the fact that I actually hit that ball. Because I was expecting to do some damage, but to do it in that situation, that pressure situation, is another thing, right? So it was so I was just so ecstatic and so just overwhelmed with excitement and joy and everything that is positive that you could possibly have. The emotions were overflowing. It was really hard to explain because I don't remember ever just kind of pumping my chest,
Right.
a couple of times around the bases, because of something like that. So
yeah, you weren't a guy that was going to stop and take a selfie of yourself around each base, like today's player. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what I always tell people. I said, there are times that you can celebrate the moment. That was a time that you could celebrate it. And I love the fact that you wanted to celebrate it more than anything was with your team. Get around those bases and the fans. You know what I mean? Get around those bases. And it's a surreal thing where I almost wish you were on the outside looking in so you could have seen yourself. You know what I mean? Like you could have watched yourself, because I thought it was the classiest thing I had seen in a long, long time. In the day and age of guys wanting to bat flip and show out, all you did was say, you know what? I love the mindset. I knew I wanted to do damage. I knew I was going to do damage. And you got that pitch. You were able to drive it out of the ballpark, run in the bases, and then get back and celebrate like I got it done. I love that about you, dude.
Yeah, it was something special. I mean, something that I was really like focusing on trying to stay behind that ball, every swing, and I was working on that in the batting cage, in the tunnels before that at bat, and that's what I was doing. I was driving balls in that tunnel, so it was definitely a moment that I was prepared for.
It was the first home run that Chapman had given up in over 4 months. From what I see, I think it was, or 5 months. I guess his last home run was around June. He gave up when he was on the Yankees. And then unfortunately, the Cubs fans were happy with the result, ending the curse. So you guys were part of ending that curse, but you always have, is that the number one moment when you look back, that homer?
It is by far, the walk-off grand slam is probably a distant second. but and that debut is, it's right up there as well. Just the feeling that I had after my debut. I mean, I felt like a dream as well, because for about 4 days, I didn't care what happened on the field. I wasn't starting. I was getting, pinch hitting. I wasn't really playing, but it didn't matter because I was just such in a cloud. Just with, you dream about doing this all your life. I was 7, 8 years old when I started committing myself to, okay, this is what I want to do for, when I get older. And I just remember being 14 years old and writing it down, where you're going to be in 10 years.
On that note, I read that you borrowed gas money to your pre-draft workout to drive to Pittsburgh. Yeah. And then your final year, you end up using your own money, I guess, for the Uber from Pennsylvania to New York. So something about those rides, was that like full circle? Did you think back of that, that money that you borrowed to go to Pittsburgh, then you get drafted by the Pirates?
I think it was full circle when one of my first games I ever went to was Shea Stadium and watching Darryl Strawberry hit that home run with number 18. And then when I get up to the big leagues, they give me number 18. When I thought I was going to get number 11, they give me number 18 when I get called up. And then I hit that home run with the Uber home run.
The Uber home run. I like that. Yep. Figgy, you never got to face Rajai in your career, huh?
I did not. And one of the things that I think most, I always talk about the struggle, the going up and down, the, staying with it, the perseverance, all that stuff. When, in our minds, we're going to be superstars. Nobody sits there and goes, I want to be a journeyman. Nobody sits there. Yeah. Like I tell people, my proudest thing is that I was a 20-game winner. It took me 11 years, but I won 20 games. Yeah. So I'm all about the guys that are about the grind. And for you to be able to do that, and from team to team to team, I had Mike Morgan early in my career, my rookie season. He said, kid, you got something. And I said, thank you, Mr. Morgan. I appreciate that. He goes, listen to these words. Have arm, will travel. I said, okay. I said, can you explain that to me a little bit more? He's like, don't worry about the name on the back of the jersey. It's the name on the front of the jersey. And as long as you keep pitching the way you are, there'll be a job for you in the big leagues. And I can't control whether I get sent up, sent down, traded. Talk about your journey and talk about, times that you thought maybe, it's not going to work out and you just kept going to get back up again.
Well, I think that was more on the minor league side when I was really doing a career 305 hitter, but feeling like, you're getting overlooked by other guys. And the team not calling you up when you felt like they should have called you up instead of the other guy, and they call the other guy up. And I was always the guy that had to stay in the that same league the whole year, as opposed to getting called up halfway through the year like some of the other guys were. I thought the best guys were getting called up during the year. I thought I was one of those best guys, and not having that, just constantly going through the levels. That's where that perseverance, that's where that you start doubting yourself, your abilities. And then when I ran in AAA, it's like my first time. Now I'm facing former big leaguers who have a little bit of edge on me because they have the experience. And I was going to go out there and chase them that ball in the dirt, and I had to learn the hard way. To stop chasing and eventually focusing on that and building my batting average up to 280 when I was sitting at 200 for the first 2 months of the season, just to battle through those. That's a very, very tough mental grind, and it's a patient mental grind that you have to endure the race.
You, Rajai, had 2 years in Cleveland playing with Lindor and Kipnis. And I don't know if you've seen the news recently where Kipnis has said the Mets don't really have a true leader on this team. Do you have any reaction to those comments? Like, Did you find Lindor to be kind of a leader when you were in Cleveland? I mean, he was a little younger then, so I don't know if he was the vet to speak up. But Kipnis had some fire word, and Mrs. Lindor came out swinging with a great tweet replying to that. So I don't know if you saw that, but
How
curious to see
recent
your
was
reaction.
that?
This is the other day. She
Past
tweeted
week,
that, I
yeah.
believe, Friday, and Kipnis said this about a week ago, and Lindor basically said he had no comments. So I was curious if you had any comments on that situation.
That's funny. That's funny. Lindor was young, but he was a very good listener. He was a very good learner. He was showing with his actions, he was playing, he was performing well, right? And that's what he was doing. He was learning a lot, though, from myself, and we had Napoli out there just kind of helping those guys and kind of letting them know that hey, you're the next guy up. You're him. Everybody's watching you. So make sure you just make sure that you pay attention to what you do, because it's going to affect other guys.
Was Kipnis a leader? Was Kipnis a leader on those teams? Was he a veteran in the
When you say
clubhouse?
leader, what do you mean?
I don't know, a guy who speaks up, who, if you're on a losing streak, will talk to the guys, mentor the guys, because he made it sound like, he was a leader and Lindor now is not. Lindor, it's at a different point of his career. That's why I think Mets fans kind of took offense, because now you look at Lindor as kind of a veteran in this Mets clubhouse. So for him to say that kind of felt like there was something personal going on there.
Well, I think Kipnis would speak up. We had several guys that would speak up. We had a veteran crew. We had some guys who had some playoff experience going in, and we didn't have them all at the end, like Juan Uribe and Marlon Byrd. But we had Coco come in. We had Miller come in, and we had some key guys come in that took care of business. And obviously we had Kluber, who's a silent leader, right? He was out there, just dominating on that, as a starter front. We have some dominating starting pitcher. I think that year our number 3 guy was an all-star. Salzar. So we had some guys who was going out there and handling business. I wouldn't say we had just one guy that was just I am him. I think we had a bunch of guys who were filling their roles and playing their roles to perfection, and that's what made our team so good, that each individual was doing well at their role.
Yeah, and again, people say things, and people, things can get stretched or misconstrued. I understand that through the media, but you got to obviously realize it was a different time for Lindor. Lindor is enjoying being the young cat on the team like that, and he wasn't just along for the ride. This guy was a major catalyst for that team, both defensively and offensively.
I just don't know why he would say that now when Lindor is deep in his career. He's got a 10-year, 11-year, $340 million contract. It just sounded like there was something. I mean, they clearly weren't out getting beers on a Friday night after a victory in Cleveland. I mean, Cleveland closes at 11 p.m. at 12 p.m. anyway, but midnight.
I think after a while, you kind of forget the game a little bit. When you're not playing anymore, sometimes you forget how hard the game is. You forget how the day-to-day grind to stay on top is very difficult. To keep doing it every single year and putting up those top 10 numbers every year, that's very difficult. And you're the dynamics of each individual player changes. Guys get married, guys have kids, have families, and you're making that adjustment along the way, but you've never been in that situation as well. So now you have time that you have to share with your family, where before you didn't have to, right? So these are dynamics that just change individual. They change the mindset. They change the a lot of times, it's very difficult to navigate through those times.
Yeah, speaking of navigating through tough times, talk a little bit about the mentoring program that you do with your former high school.
Yeah, so I deal with a New London High School football team right now. I'm working with my local church, Miracle Temple, and our pastor Larry DeLong, who we partnered with a call2men.org, which is an organization that MLB works with. They work with the NBA, they work with NFL, and a few other major sports. But they deal with domestic violence and sexual assault and the real issues of manhood and masculinity. So, and just kind of just talking through issues on how men treat women, and how should we treat them, and those kinds of things, those real issues that kind of get swept under the rug a lot, with our society, and our society just kind of talks differently about it, and kind of guides us as males in a certain direction.
Well, you're doing great things in the community at the 860. I was a 203 guy, Rajai. So you're holding it down for the other area code. Go ahead, Figgy.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, did you ever take part in the rookie development camp?
I never got the chance. I never got the opportunity.
See, and that's what it reminded me of, and it's a great thing that you're doing. The rookie development camp, they took a couple of prospects from each organization. They brought them to Washington, D.C. for a weekend, and throughout that whole weekend, you had a mentor. Jeffrey Hammonds was my mentor, also Homer Bush. So I had both those guys as mentors. And we went over those scenarios. We went over what it's like to be at a bar after a ball game. Somebody's in your jersey, a girl in your jersey, and she wants to come over and talk to you, and they would freeze the moment and say, what could you do? What should you do? And all these things. And guys were being honest, the guys were being truthful. And it was a great learning experience about, what to prepare yourself for. A lot of guys don't get that. And especially now with social media, it's so different, right? Everything comes at you so quickly that no matter where you're at, there's a camera. No matter what you're doing, there's a camera. Somebody's watching, somebody's tweeting, somebody's posting, and you got to be careful about those different things. So I think that rookie development camp is something that helped mold me in the beginning of my careers to, have expectations of what was important. And you talk about how things change for you, right? Perspective of a family, of getting married, and all those things change for you. So you realize, when you're young and single, we had the young and single guys, and they're like, oh man, the girl's in my jersey, bet I'm buying her a beer. And then you're like, hey, maybe I take a picture with her, but maybe I don't stand so close. And then it's all those different things where preparation for the next generation is so important. And I think that's why mentors like yourself, man, I could have seen you in a million different roles. And I love the fact that, you could have coached, you could have done anything else. Right now, you're mentoring not just professional ball players, you're mentoring, adolescent youth who are, going through that next phase in their life. And I think that's really important.
Absolutely.
Do you want to coach? Do you want to manage one day?
Not right now. My family is in a different spot. My son is 7. My daughter is 9. She's in dance competition. My son plays baseball, and he needs his coach there. So
yeah, there's only 24 hours in a day.
Exactly.
I want to close with this. Tell us what you're doing with MLB, Senior Director of On-Field Operations, or were you one of the guys with the pitch clock? Games are going quick. It's good on TV, although when I'm at the game, it's almost too quick. Time I get in my seat, it's like top of the 5th. Game's halfway over. It's good. There's good things about it, bad things. Overall, I think it's gotten positive reviews, but tell us what you think about the rules and what you're doing with Major League Baseball.
Well, I think obviously with the results of the rules, I think the fans are happy. The game is sped up. There's more action and less time, and more runs scored. And so I think Major League Baseball is happy with what the results that we've gotten. And for me, I am a part of just kind of getting the feedback on from the players, from the coach's perspective, what is working, what is not working, what things do they think we can change, and how can we make this game better after implementation of these rules, and what do they see that we don't see here in office.
So my last thing for you is, with these new bases being so big, 50 stolen base Rajai would have stolen how many bases?
That's a good
80.
question. Because with the 50 bases, they would pick over a lot. And now you're eliminating that pickoff, which essentially gives me more energy to steal that base and the next base, because the hardest base to steal when I was coming up was second base. It was easy to steal third base.
Right.
So if I get the second, that was the key. Then I can get third, right? Because most guys let up. When once the guy gets a second, he's not going third. I'm gone.
This is why I love Rajai. Any guy who steals second and steal third, it's like a video game to me. I love it. Like steal two. If you get buy one, get one special. Just it ain't that hard. You got the
second. That's it.
Yeah. So just so the fans know, so those extra 3 inches of the base, so technically a half a foot, that's a huge difference for a base stealer.
Well, especially for me, because all of my stolen bases were bang bang out or bang bang safe a lot of times. So those bang bang outs, those are bang bang safe now, and that's just and then that's more base for me to grab onto, hold on, put my brakes on, and kind of help myself.
So you didn't give us a number. How many would you have stole? 75, 80? What do you think?
That's a hard one. It depends how much opportunity I've had, because I was always the guy. I didn't play every day.
Right.
So I had to steal when they put me in, every single time. So I led the league from my time coming in 06 to 07 in attempts. And I wasn't even playing an everyday guy. There was only one guy ahead of me, and that was Jose Reyes. And he was an everyday guy getting 700 plus plate appearances every. I would get 1 year. I got 500 plate appearances. So I was getting anywhere between 400 and 500. So I was doing this with half the time. In league leading.
I will say it. I'm going to say, because of opportunity and plus the aggression, you're going for more. So I'm saying you're going 80. You're going 80 easy on that. Yeah. You knew how to steal bases. That's
a full season. Yeah, 140, 150.
If I get a full season, because if I would have got a full season now, like as I got older, I got a full season when I got 50, but I didn't really know. That was my very beginning. Didn't really know
how to do it
at the big league level, like successful. I didn't really have the science down. Well, once I got to Cleveland, I had 43. Got caught 5 times. I had a good idea in 2016. It was after that. Those years was like, okay, now if I get a chance now, it's like.
See that approach. Here's my chicken parm infused veins. Just inject stolen base. Every time. Like when Marte gets on and doesn't steal, I get mad. And then Nimmo will steal in a meaningless 2-run game in the 9th and get thrown out. Like just steal every time. That's the Rajai approach. I love it. We appreciate you coming on. 14 years in the big leagues. It's interesting. Your career ended and it was COVID. I wonder if COVID doesn't happen, if you maybe play for the Mets again in 2020 and keep going. Do you ever think about that? 40 years old, I think.
That was my goal. That was my goal, to play till I was 40. I was about 39 COVID years, so I didn't get the chance.
Pandemic ruining everything, including some more stolen bases. Well, you're doing a great job in your community and with Major League Baseball as a senior director of on-field operations. And we appreciate you, Rajai Davis, for coming on Amazin But True. Hope to do it again.
Thanks for having me, guys.